We're live.
Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Another week, 10:03. We almost made it on time today. We were trying, but 10:03 works. We're good with that.
Life just gets busy.
Oh my goodness, there's so much going on right now.
Another late start.
Yeah, school.
Cold.
Let's talk about that. We talked about weather last time, 2 weeks ago. Last week it was just me bumbling for 30 seconds, which was kind of fun. We'll do that again sometime. I'll have notes.
30-second show.
Late starts. Remember when we were kids? They never canceled school.
Never.
Ever. You were going to school no matter what. And then I think they figured out that people were, if a kid got in an accident on the way to school and you should have canceled school, can you imagine as a superintendent how terrible you would feel?
Yeah.
To say, you know what, I could have canceled school, I didn't, and some kid got hurt or somebody got killed on the way trying to get their kid to school in ridiculous weather. So.
And I never thought about like the kids waiting for the bus.
Oh, like -3? What is it outside today?
It's like -8 or 9.
You imagine waiting out at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to come, freezing your tail off. That's what I was going to say.
Why do we say freezing your tail off or your tail off when humans don't have tails?
No, they don't. So I'm going to say something. There's a saying about how cold it is. It's cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey. Now, that sounds bad, but it came from a nautical term when they had cannonballs on warships in the 1800s, and they'd stack them up in this thing that kind of looked like a pool ball thing. It was rectangle, and the balls would sit in there, and then they'd pile them up. And when it got cold, the brass thing would shrink up, and then the cannonballs would all fall out because it would freeze up and get smaller, and the cannonballs would fall off of it. So
really?
Yeah, that's true. Look it up. It's a true story.
Well, do we have a PG-13 show or is it 17? Because This is a very interesting fact. One of my favorite facts to tell. I think I read it in a bathroom reader years ago. There's a 4-letter word that starts with S, and before the 1700s, It was not a word. It never existed. Mm-hmm. And what it was is it's the word shit. And
you could tell you have little kids at home.
Yeah. No, they curse a lot. That word. That's not a bad word in our house. Because what it was is when they came over, like I always say the Mayflower, because that's the one boat we all know about. Yep. But when they all came over from Europe, they were bringing over manure because we had all these fields to grow tobacco and they didn't have the plows and all that stuff. So they're bringing over manure. And what they did is on the boats, people were dying on the boats because of bacteria and disease. So they put them in the top levels and they all said S.H.I.T. Ship high in transit.
Yep.
Ship high in transit. Well, these people would be on the boats for 3 months and then they'd get on land and they'd be like, wow, that smells like shit. Hey, I have to take a shit. I have to blah, blah, blah. And so still 300 years later, we use that as a term. And that's all because of people coming over from Europe. And
interesting fact. See, look at it. It's an educational show, people.
Educational.
And
that is something very important to know when we're talking Fort Dodge is where the word shit came from.
We got to talk about something.
Yeah.
We're here every week and we always try to get those things and do different things. Another interesting fact, we had the Legislative Forum, the Growth Alliance, once a month. That's a legislative forum where the legislators come and you can talk to them. And Randy Feenstra was there and Ann Meyer and Jesse Green and Tim Kreinbrink. And one of the bills going through Congress or through the state right now is to get rid of daylight savings time, to just go to daylight savings time and stay there. So when we would go forward in March or whatever, when we spring forward, it would just stay that way forever. We would no longer go back and forth. And I think it is an amazing idea. But what's funny is when we're sitting there, Ann Meyer was talking about it because Mike Sexton put it on, but he couldn't be there. And Ann goes, well, it sounds like we're just waiting for the feds to make it legal. And she looked right at Randy Feenstra, who's a federal congressman, and said, well, ball's in your court. So we actually got to see him punt that to the next level in that show, in that little forum. And it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. I can send you the link. But it was just kind of funny how I think the state is ready to get rid of daylight savings time. And there's like 19 or 20 states that have signed up for it, but they're just waiting for all the pieces to fall in place to get it done, which is pretty cool. So
I don't know how I feel about it. I hate it getting dark at 5 o'clock. That's like the worst thing in the entire world.
It is.
But I guess I haven't looked at the pros and cons enough.
I can't think
Really
of a pro.
see.
What's a pro?
I know
one pro.
I know that when I was in Arizona, it was right when they did the time change, and my wife's father likes to go get a cup of coffee with a group of guys, so I went with him on that Saturday morning or whatever, and he meets them at 10 o'clock, and there's a bunch of guys because it was kind of like a bar slash. It's like this small little town. You know, they only have like one place
the coffee
for coffee.
shop and the bar is the same thing.
Yeah, and it's also got like a restaurant on the other side. It's kind of a cool little place.
I'd hang out.
Yeah, I don't think they've swept the floors in like 4 years, and my kind of place. And we go in there, and the football game started at 10 in the morning, and it used to be 11 o'clock. But Arizona doesn't change their time, but they're affected by what's going on in the rest of the world. And I just remember there was a guy in there, and he was just so mad that the football games had already started.
Yeah.
You know, or
well, if nobody changed daylight savings time, you're taking that. That's not an argument anymore. That actually helps. That's a pro to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I can't think of a pro to keep it. I really, at one point in time, it was because the kids had to get up to school to work on the farm before they went to school. They were out milking cows and doing what they had to do. Then they'd go to school and do what they did. It was more of a agriculture, economy. But anymore, that was the reason what Thomas Jefferson came up with.
So it would stay lighter.
So it would be.
Oh yeah, I've seen National Treasure. That's my education.
Oh
on
yeah.
Daylight savings time is.
You got it.
The movie National Treasure. You got
Benjamin Franklin. Who came up with daylight savings time?
Benjamin Franklin.
It was Benjamin Franklin. So yeah.
And then he hid his glasses inside the tower.
Oh, and they had to wait an hour to see. That's right.
And I'm sure all that was true too.
Yep. But I think daylight savings time is one of those things. It's getting outdated, and I think people tired of it. I have a friend, a conspiracy theorist, a little bit, but he says it's the 9-volt battery manufacturers that say you need to have daylight savings time, so you change the batteries in your smoke detectors twice a year, and that was their cue to do it. Was that way they could sell more 9-volt batteries? Because if you don't change them every 6 months, they'll last a year and a half. They'll start beeping when they're not going to work anymore. So it was a way to sell more batteries for the Energizers and the Duracells of the world.
Yeah.
How's that for a conspiracy theory?
Yeah. Did you know those 9-volt batteries? I'm all full of facts today.
You are.
You take that and put it on your tongue.
Oh yeah.
And if it stings, it's so good.
I remember doing that as a kid all the time.
I did it just a couple weeks ago. I gave it to my 4-year-old, and it's like, hey buddy, will you stick this on your mouth? And it might hurt. And he's my little daredevil, so he's like, yeah, ow. And I was like, oh, it still works. It's good. And then I asked the sister to do it, and he's like, no.
Yeah, not at all. That's awesome.
So daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time. My vote's to let's move on. Let's get into the.
So would it, like during the winter when everything's done at 5 o'clock?
Well, instead of being 10 o'clock right now, it would be 11 o'clock. So I mean, it doesn't really make a difference this time of year. We just eat an hour earlier. I mean, it's only out light for so many hours a day. Whether it's a little earlier or a little later, doesn't matter.
Okay.
But the fact that we're staying on the daylight savings time just means, over the course of 150 years, we just pushed everything an hour forward continually instead of just part of the year.
Okay.
So there you go.
Any big things coming to Fort Dodge?
Starbucks. Did you see that in the main paper today? They announced that the place next to Auto Drive, you're welcome, Jeff Freebert, is going to be a drive-through Starbucks. They're going to tear the building down and put up a Starbucks right there. So will that affect Target and Hy-Vee if there's a Starbucks you can just go drive through on 5th Avenue South? Thoughts?
I am an odd person because I don't drink coffee.
Well, that was dumb. What are your guys' thoughts? There's at least 2 people watching right now that might want to chime in and tell us if all about time. There you go.
Yep. They do have good tea.
Yeah.
So when Jenny when we go to Target for a 15-minute run, we have to wait in line for 10 minutes to get coffee.
Yep.
So I always make it worth the time for me to get a nice tea.
Yeah. Well, I don't drink a ton of Starbucks, but I love coffee. So.
But then you people with coffee, like Jenny sends me to the store to go get coffee or whatever, and holy crap, it's like there's 15 ingredients in it.
There it is.
And the first time I ever went to
It's
Starbucks,
3. I owned a coffee shop. I know how this works.
I went up there and said, "I'll take a unsweetened tea." And she's like, "Would you like black, green, blue, purple?" It's like, I don't know.
The kind in the glass with ice.
Yeah, like the kind that you sit in the sun for a couple hours. Do you have that kind?
Have you been to Scooters? Scooters Coffee?
I've been through the drive-through with the list of
favorite part
stuff.
about Scooters is when you're in the drive-through, you get your order in, and they say, "Yep, I'm done." They tell you your total, and what do they say? Scoot on around.
Scoot on around.
I like this. I love going there just because of that.
I went there one time with that list that Jenny gave me. Well, that list was for a different coffee shop, so they didn't have the same ingredients. So
Gazillion stars. Shelly, you're a rock star.
A gazillion.
I love Starbucks too. I love coffee. I love going there. It's so unique and it's always good. And do you know even know what a star is at Starbucks?
What?
It's a reward. You get your Starbucks stars reward. I don't have I have 100 or 200 because I never get my phone out.
Well, I know 7 or 8 years ago I was down in over in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Starbucks on every single block on Michigan Avenue or whatever that is.
Joyce and I did a New York walking tour. And the guys, you're walking through town. He's explaining all these buildings and historic buildings. And like half of the historic buildings he talks to, it's a Starbucks now. It's like a thing with Starbucks that they go into these historic buildings and this historic places. And they're like, "Yep, this is this, and this. And Queen Victoria was there. And it's a Starbucks." They're everywhere. If you go through New York City, it's kind of cool to see that.
What can we get started like for the next revolution? There's a revolution.
Disruptor.
And everybody like drinks coffee in the morning. What's something? Can we like maybe do something with Kool-Aid? Like get everyone like, gotta get some sugar in the morning, people.
That red shirt on you look a little bit like the Kool-Aid man today.
Get like little Kool-Aid shops all over the country.
We can do that. I don't know if Kool-Aid's a thing, but we should. There's got to be a disruptor out there. There's something coming.
But with Kool-Aid, you can have it any color.
That's true. Yeah.
We could add different colors of sugar to it.
Could have Kool-Aid no sugar.
Yeah.
If you like, we'll call it the Friday.
And you can have hot Kool-Aid. We just throw it in the microwave.
There you go. Boiling water. Use Jello.
Like it's just like coffee, except for it's fun.
That's right. And everybody can have it. All right. Well, with all this great conversation and words of wisdom, we thank everybody for being here today. And we will see all of you next Thursday at Talkport Dodge.
Yay. Thank you.